Can I share this table?
5 words. That is all it took to change 3 lives forever. A young woman stood trembling in a crowded cafe, her knuckles white around her crutches, her heart pounding so hard she was certain everyone could hear it. She wore a fitted red dress that hugged her curves elegantly, the kind of dress you wear when you are trying to feel brave, even though you are falling apart inside. Her blonde hair was pulled into a loose ponytail, and her brown eyes glistened with tears she refused to let fall. She had already been rejected twice. 2 tables, 2 polite but firm refusals. And now she stood before a single father and his 6-year-old daughter asking for the one thing she needed most in the world: a place to belong. What happened next would shatter everything she thought she knew about family, about love, about second chances. It would prove that sometimes the people who save us are the ones we least expect. And it would remind us all that the most beautiful families are not always born. Sometimes they are built one kind moment at a time. Before we continue, please tell us, where in the world are you tuning in from? We love seeing how far our stories travel. The Corner Bean was packed that Saturday morning in late March. Portland's first real sunshine after months of grey winter had drawn everyone out of their apartments and into the streets. Couples on dates lingered over lattes. Students with laptops claimed corners like territorial cats. Families with strollers navigated the narrow aisles between tables. Every seat was taken. Every table was full. Derek Mitchell glanced up from his black coffee and let his gaze drift across the crowded cafe. At 34, he had the kind of face that showed both kindness and weariness in equal measure. Brown hair with just a hint of grey at the temples. Warm eyes that crinkled when he smiled. The permanent slight slouch of a single father who had not slept properly in years. Across from him, his 6-year-old daughter Lily was in the middle of an animated story, her small hands gesturing wildly, her voice rising and falling with theatrical drama. And then Jonathan's hamster escaped during show, until Lily announced, her eyes wide with the remembered excitement. It ran right under Mrs. Patterson's desk, and she screamed, "So loud, Daddy!" Like this. She demonstrated with a shriek that made several nearby patrons look over. And then everyone was crawling on the floor trying to catch it, and Marcus bumped his head on the desk, and Emma started crying because she thought the hamster was going to bite her toes. Derek smiled at his daughter, this bright, chattering miracle, who had somehow made the past 3 years bearable. Their Saturday morning tradition at the Corner Bean was sacred. It had started right after the divorce was finalized, when Lily was only 3, and Derek was drowning in loneliness and self-doubt. He had needed something to anchor them, some ritual that said, "We are still a family, even if it is just the 2 of us now." 3 years later, this corner table by the window had become their sanctuary. "That sounds like quite an adventure," Derek said, taking a sip of his coffee. "It was the best day ever," Lily declared. "Well, except for the day you took me to the aquarium, and my birthday, and Christmas, and that time we found the really big pine cone." Derek was about to respond when movement near the entrance caught his attention. A young woman on crutches had just entered the cafe. She stood in the doorway for a moment, scanning the room with an expression that made Derek's chest tighten. Desperation. That is what he saw on her face. Pure, barely contained desperation. She was striking even from across the room. Blonde hair catching the morning light. A fitted red dress that seemed almost too elegant for a casual Saturday morning, like she had gotten dressed for something important. But it was her eyes that held him. Even from this distance he could see they were searching for something. Searching for hope, and finding none. Derek watched as the young woman navigated through the crowded cafe, her crutches moving with practiced efficiency. She approached the first table near the door, where a couple sat close together, clearly on a date. Their heads were bent toward each other, coffee cups, forgotten hands intertwined on the table. The woman in the red dress spoke to them. Derek could not hear the words, but he could read her body language. Apologetic, hopeful, asking for something she clearly hated having to ask for. The woman at the table shook her head firmly, not unkindly, but definitively. The man did not even look up from his date. Derek saw the blonde woman nod, apologize, and turn away. Her shoulders dropped just slightly, but she straightened them again, adjusted her grip on the crutches, moved to the next table. This one had a man sitting alone, papers and laptop spread everywhere, clearly working. He had that harried look of someone with too many deadlines and not enough patience. Again she approached. Again she asked. Derek watched her lips move, saw her gesture around at the full cafe. The man barely glanced at her before shaking his head. He waved a dismissive hand and returned to his laptop without another word. This time when she turned away, Derek saw something crack in her expression. Her lip trembled. She bit down on it hard, fighting for control. She tried a third table, a group of college students laughing and loud, taking up more space than they needed. One of them looked at her crutches, then exchanged a glance with his friends. Something uncomfortable passed between them. Another shake of the head. Another rejection. The woman in the red dress stood alone in the middle of the cafe now. "Daddy, are you even listening?" Lily's voice pulled him back. He blinked, realizing he had completely lost track of her story. "Of course, sweetie. The hamster escaped. That was like 5 minutes ago." Lily crossed her arms, her small face scrunching into an expression of 6-year-old indignation. "Now I am telling you about what happened at lunch when—" But Derek's attention had drifted again. He could not help it. The woman on crutches was standing frozen in the middle of the room, looking around with an expression that broke his heart. Lost. Alone. Like she was about to give up on something far more important than just finding a seat. The red dress that must have made her feel brave this morning now seemed like a spotlight on her isolation. Everyone in the cafe moved around her like water flowing past a stone. No one stopped. No one asked if she was okay. For a brief moment, their gazes met across the crowded space. Derek saw vulnerability there. He saw hope fighting against despair. He saw a deep, aching sadness that seemed to radiate from her very core. But he also saw something else. Determination. Even now, even after 3 rejections, she was not giving up. She took a deep breath, adjusted her crutches, and started walking toward their table. Each step seemed to cost her something. Derek could see the effort it took to keep her expression neutral, to hold back the tears that were clearly threatening to fall. She moved carefully between tables, apologizing when her crutches bumped a chair when she had to ask someone to move their bag. And all the while her eyes stayed fixed on Derek and Lily, on the one empty chair at their table, on her last hope. She reached their corner table by the window, and up close Derek could see she was even younger than he had thought. Mid-20s at most. Her face was pale beneath a careful application of makeup, and despite the elegant red dress and the way she held herself with practiced poise, she looked fragile, breakable. "Excuse me," she said softly. Her voice was steady, but Derek could hear the emotion trembling underneath, the effort it was taking to keep herself together. "I am so sorry to bother you. I know this is probably strange." She paused, swallowing hard. "But would you mind if I shared this table with you? The cafe is completely full, and I—" Another pause. Longer this time. Her eyes glistened with unshed tears. "I really need to be here today. It is very important to me." Derek did not hesitate. Not for a single second. He was on his feet before she finished speaking, pulling out the empty chair across from them. "Of course," he said, and he made sure his voice was warm, genuine welcoming. "Please sit. I am Derek, and this is my daughter Lily." The relief that washed over the young woman's face was like watching sunrise break through storm clouds. Her whole body seemed to sag with it, weeks or months of tension releasing all at once. "Thank you," she breathed. "Thank you so much." She settled carefully into the chair, propping her crutches against the wall beside her. Derek noticed she moved with the practiced efficiency of someone who had been using them for a long time. Not new to this, adapted to it. "I am Savannah," she said, looking at both of them. Her eyes were wet with tears that had not quite fallen. "Savannah Cole. I asked those other tables first, but they said they needed privacy. I was starting to think I would have to leave, and Her voice caught in her throat. "I really could not bear to leave without being here for a while." "We are happy to share our table," Derek said, settling back into his seat. "This place gets crazy when the weather is nice. First sunny Saturday in months, and everyone in Portland decides they need coffee at the same time." Lily, who had been watching the exchange with wide, curious eyes, leaned forward across the table. "We come here every single Saturday," she announced proudly. "It is our special tradition. I always get hot chocolate with extra whipped cream." She held up 2 fingers to emphasize the double extra. "And Daddy gets boring black coffee." She wrinkled her nose at Derek's mug. "Do you like hot chocolate?" Savannah smiled, and despite the sadness that clung to her like a second skin, the smile reached her eyes. It transformed her face, made her look younger, softer. "I love hot chocolate," she said. "That sounds perfect for today." A server appeared at their table, and Savannah ordered coffee and a croissant. Her hands were still trembling slightly as she pulled out her wallet, but her voice was steadier now. The simple act of sitting down, of being accepted, seemed to have grounded her somehow. As the server left, Lily launched into conversation with the enthusiasm only a 6-year-old could muster. "I am in 1st grade," she announced. "My teacher is Mrs. Patterson, and she has a hamster in our classroom named Cheeto because he is orange and fluffy. He escaped today during show and tell, and it was so exciting." "Do you have any pets?" "I do not right now," Savannah said, her fingers wrapping around her coffee cup when it arrived like she was trying to absorb its warmth. "But I used to have a cat named Luna." She was grey with white paws. "That is such a pretty name," Lily exclaimed. "Luna means moon in Spanish. My friend Maya taught me that. Her family speaks Spanish at home." Savannah's smile widened. "It does. That is exactly why I named her that." Derek found himself relaxing as they talked. There was something about Savannah, despite the sadness she carried. She listened to Lily with genuine interest. She asked follow-up questions about school, about Cheeto the hamster, about Lily's best friend when she mentioned her. She laughed at the funny parts of Lily's stories, out at the dramatic moments. She was present, fully engaged, treating his 6-year-old like she was the most interesting person in the room. It had been a long time since Derek had seen someone connect with Lily so naturally. Since the divorce, most women he encountered seemed unsure how to interact with his daughter. They were either overly sweet in that performative way that children can always detect, or they treated her like an obstacle to getting to know Derek. But Savannah was not performing. She was not trying to impress anyone. She was just here, just listening, just being kind. And Derek found himself wondering what had happened to her, what pain she was carrying beneath that elegant red dress. What had brought her to this cafe on a Saturday morning, desperate enough to beg strangers for a seat at their table? They had been sitting together for about 15 minutes when Savannah carefully set down her coffee cup. Her expression shifted gratitude mixing with something deeper, more painful. "I want to tell you both something," she said quietly. Her voice was barely above a whisper, and Derek had to lean forward to hear her over the cafe's ambient noise. "The reason I needed to be here today specifically." She paused, and Derek saw her hands tremble around the cup. "It is because today is my birthday. I am 24 today." Lily's eyes went wide with pure, unfiltered delight. Her whole face lit up like Christmas morning. "It is your birthday," and without a moment's hesitation, without asking permission or feeling any self-consciousness whatsoever, Lily burst into song. "Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Savannah. Happy birthday to you, Derek," immediately joined in his deeper voice, blending with his daughter's enthusiastic, slightly off-key soprano. He did not care that people were looking. He did not care that they were making a scene in a crowded cafe. This woman needed a birthday song, and by God she was going to get one. Several nearby patrons glanced over at the commotion. A woman at the next table smiled warmly and joined in for the final line. An older couple across the cafe added their voices, too charmed by the spontaneous celebration. When the song ended, Savannah had tears streaming down her face. But she was smiling through them. A real smile, luminous and aching, that made Derek's heart clench in his chest. That was... She wiped at her eyes with trembling fingers. "That was the most beautiful thing anyone has done for me in a very long time. Thank you, both of you. Everyone needs birthday songs," Lily declared with absolute conviction. Then her face lit up with another idea, and Derek knew what was coming before she even said it. "Daddy, we need to get her a birthday cake. You cannot have a birthday without cake. That is like having Christmas without presents, or Halloween without candy. It is just wrong." "Oh no, please." Savannah started to protest, shaking her head. "You have already been so kind. I could not possibly—" But Derek was already glancing toward the display case near the counter where the cafe kept their fresh pastries and small cakes. "They actually make really good cakes here," he said. "Would that be okay? It is your birthday. You should definitely have cake. You have both been so incredibly kind already." Savannah's voice was thick with emotion. "I do not want to be any trouble." "You are not trouble at all," Derek said gently. "Really. Please let us celebrate with you." Despite Savannah's continued protests, Derek excused himself and went to the counter. The display case had several small cakes, and he chose a chocolate one with vanilla buttercream frosting. It was not fancy, but it was perfect. He asked for a single candle, and the barista, who had apparently been watching their table with interest, added it with a knowing smile. When Derek returned carrying the cake with its single lit candle, several people at nearby tables noticed what was happening. Someone started singing again, and soon their entire corner of the cafe had joined in for a second round of happy birthday. Savannah closed her eyes. Derek watched her lips move silently, making a wish. What was she wishing for? What did a woman who came to a cafe alone on her birthday, desperate just for a seat at a table, wish for when she blew out her candle? She blew out the flame. A small ripple of applause spread through the space. Strangers celebrating a stranger connected for just this moment by the simple magic of human kindness. "Okay, birthday girl gets the first piece and the biggest piece," Lily announced, taking charge of the cake distribution with serious authority. "That is the rule. Daddy, you have to cut it right." As they shared the cake, something shifted in the atmosphere. The sweetness of the moment, the unexpected kindness from strangers, seemed to crack open something in Savannah that had been locked tight. Derek could see it happening. The walls she had built around herself were crumbling piece by piece with every bite of birthday cake. And then she began to speak. "This cafe..." Savannah began, her voice barely above a whisper. She was staring down at her plate, at the chocolate crumbs and the smear of vanilla frosting. "This was my family's place. Our Saturday morning tradition. Exactly like yours." Derek felt his chest tighten. He glanced at Lily, who had stopped eating her cake, her intuitive child sense picking up on the weight of what was coming. Savannah looked up, meeting Derek's eyes. "Me, my little sister Kennedy, and our parents. We lived just a few blocks from here in a small apartment above a bookstore." My dad was a firefighter at Station 14, and my mom was a pediatric nurse at Duernbecker Children's Hospital. She paused, and Derek saw her hands begin to tremble around her fork. We never had much money. Dad's salary was modest, and Mom's nursing job paid the bills, but nothing extra. But Saturday mornings here at the Corner Bean, these were the happiest times of my entire life. Her voice cracked, but she pushed through. Kennedy always ordered strawberry waffles with extra syrup. She would get it all over her face, and Dad would pretend to be horrified, and Mom would take pictures. Dad made these terrible jokes that made Mom groan, but Kennedy and I would laugh until our stomachs hurt. And Mom would steal bites of everyone's food. She said she was just tasting, but she would eat half of Dad's breakfast if he was not watching. A tear slipped down Savannah's cheek. We would sit at a table just like this one, and for those few hours nothing else mattered. Not the bills, not the stress, not anything. Just us, just our family. Derek reached across the table, instinctively placing his hand gently over hers. "What happened, Savannah?" She closed her eyes. Another tear escaped, tracing a path down her cheek. 2 years ago, there was a gas leak in our apartment building. The landlord had been warned multiple times about the old corroded pipes. He always said he would get to it next month. Next month. Next month. Her voice broke, fracturing into pieces. We were all asleep when it happened. The silence at their table was absolute. Even the ambient noise of the cafe seemed to fade away. The explosion. Savannah took a shaky breath. I woke up in the hospital 3 days later. The entire building had collapsed. I was trapped under concrete and steel beams for almost 6 hours before the rescue team could reach me. She gestured toward her leg, toward the crutches propped against the wall. My left leg was completely crushed. The doctors said there was no way to save it. They had to amputate below the knee. Lily's eyes were wide, shimmering with tears. Derek tightened his grip on Savannah's hand. My parents and Kennedy. Savannah's voice shattered completely. They did not make it out. They died in the collapse. The words hung in the air like broken glass. Kennedy was only 14 years old. Savannah continued, her voice barely audible now. She wanted to be a veterinarian because she loved every single animal she ever met. She used to bring home stray cats, nurse injured birds back to health cry over roadkill on the side of the road. She had the biggest heart of anyone I have ever known. Tears were streaming down Savannah's face now, and Derek felt his own eyes burning. And my parents, they spent their entire adult lives saving other people. My dad ran into burning buildings to rescue strangers. My mom fought every single day to save sick children, but they could not save themselves. They could not save Kennedy. Her voice dropped to a whisper. They could not save me. Before Derek could respond, before he could find any words that could possibly be adequate, Lily slipped silently out of her chair. She walked around the table without saying a word, without asking permission, without any of the hesitation that adults would have felt. She wrapped her small arms around Savannah and hugged her tightly. I am so sorry your family died, Lily said softly. Her voice carrying that pure, unfiltered empathy that only children seemed capable of. That is the saddest thing I ever heard, but you are not alone right now. We are here with you. Savannah pulled Lily closer and sobbed into her hair. Derek came around too, placing a comforting hand on Savannah's shoulder. They stayed like that for a long moment. 3 people who had been strangers less than an hour ago, now connected by unexpected kindness and shared understanding of loss. When Savannah finally composed herself, she looked at them both with red-rimmed eyes. I am sorry, she whispered. I did not mean to fall apart like that. Do not, Derek said firmly. Do not apologize. Not for grief. Not ever. Savannah wiped her face with a napkin, taking several shaky breaths to steady herself. The other patrons in the cafe had politely returned to their own conversations, giving them privacy to process the moment. "I live with my aunt now," Savannah said quietly up in Vancouver, Washington. "She took me in after I got out of rehab for my leg." She stared down at her hands. She has been kind in her own way, but it does not feel like home. Nothing feels like home anymore. Derek nodded slowly, understanding more than she knew. After his divorce, his own apartment had felt like a stranger's space for months, like he was just visiting his own life. "Today is my birthday," Savannah continued, "and all I wanted was to come back here to this cafe to feel close to them again. This was where we were happiest. I thought if I could just sit here at one of these tables, maybe I could feel like they were not completely gone." She looked around the cafe, her gaze landing on different tables, different corners. "But when I got here and saw how crowded it was, I almost left. I almost just turned around and went back to Vancouver and spent my birthday alone in my room." She looked at Derek, and fresh tears welled in her eyes. "And then you said yes. You let me sit here. You sang to me. You got me cake. You made me feel like I mattered on a day when I felt completely alone in the world." "You do matter," Lily said with absolute certainty, still standing beside Savannah's chair, like a small guardian. "And you are not alone. You have us now." Derek smiled at his daughter's pure heart. She had inherited that from her mother, that immediate, uncomplicated compassion. It was one of Chelsea's best qualities, even if their marriage had not worked out. "She is right," Derek said. "You do not have to be alone today." He thought about their plans for the afternoon. Nothing special, just their usual Saturday routine. But maybe Savannah needed that. Maybe she needed ordinary more than extraordinary right now. "We were planning to go to the park after this," he said. "Nothing fancy, just our usual Saturday. Lily likes the swings, and I usually bring a book. You are welcome to join us if you would like." Savannah looked surprised. "Are you sure I do not want to intrude on your time together?" "You are not intruding," Derek said. "We would like you to come." "Really?" "Please," Lily added, her eyes wide and hopeful. "We can show you the best swings. And there is this tree that is really good for climbing, but Daddy will not let me climb it because he says it is too high, but it is not that high, and maybe if you are there he will let me, because there will be 2 grown-ups to catch me if I fall." Savannah let out a small laugh, surprised out of her by Lily's rapid-fire logic. "How can I say no to that?" They spent the rest of that afternoon at Laurelhurst Park. Lily played on the swings, while Derek and Savannah sat on a bench nearby, talking in the way people do when they sense a connection that feels both surprising and inevitable. "How long have you been doing the Saturday morning tradition?" Savannah asked, watching Lily pump her legs higher on the swing set. 3 years now," Derek said. "Since my divorce was finalized." He paused, surprised at himself. He did not usually talk about his divorce with people he had just met, but something about Savannah made honesty feel natural. Lily was 3 when her mom and I split up. "I am sorry," Savannah said softly. "That must have been hard." Derek nodded, watching his daughter soar through the air, her laughter carrying across the playground. It was. But it was also necessary. He took a breath, organizing his thoughts. "Chelsea and I got married young. We were 22 right out of college. We thought we wanted the same things, but we did not. She is an artist, a free spirit. She wanted spontaneity, adventure, last-minute road trips to nowhere. I am more of a homebody. I like routines, quiet mornings, stability." He smiled ruefully. "When Lily was born, we both tried so hard to make it work. But trying to be someone you are not, it is exhausting. We were not angry at each other. We just fell out of love gradually, like colors fading in the sun." "That sounds harder than anger," Savannah observed. It was Derek admitted, because there was no one to blame, no betrayal, no dramatic fight, just the sad realization that loving someone is not always enough if you want fundamentally different lives. Savannah was quiet for a moment, processing. Where is she now? Seattle. She is a curator at a gallery up there. She visits twice a month and calls Lily regularly. The divorce was amicable. We did mediation instead of lawyers. I got primary custody because my teaching job is more stable, and Lily needed that consistency. You are a teacher. Derek smiled. Middle school art. It is chaos and creativity and hormones all mixed together. But I love it, art teacher Savannah said, and something lit up in her eyes. That is perfect. You have that energy. Patient, observant, creative. Derek felt warmth spread through his chest at her words. And what about you? He asked. You mentioned graphic design earlier. Savannah nodded. Freelance. I work from home, which has been good since the amputation. She said the word matter-of-factly without flinching. I had to completely relearn my workflow. I used to pace around my apartment while brainstorming sketch standing up at an easel. Now I do most of my work sitting using a tablet. It took months to adapt, but I got there. That is incredibly resilient, Derek said. Savannah shrugged. I did not have much choice. It was adapt or give up, and I had already lost everything else. I was not going to lose my career too. They discovered more connections as the afternoon wore on. Both loved hiking, though Savannah had not been on a trail since the accident. Both preferred indie films to blockbusters. Both thought the smell of Portland after rain was the best smell in the world. Both loved bookstores with creaky floors and coffee shops with mismatched furniture. When evening came, and they finally parted ways in the parking lot, they exchanged phone numbers. Thank you for today, Savannah said, her eyes still a bit puffy, but genuinely happy for the first time. You and Lily, you turned what I thought would be the loneliest, most painful birthday of my life into something beautiful. I will never forget this. Same place next Saturday, Derek asked, surprising himself with how much he hoped she would say yes. Savannah's face lit up. I would absolutely love that. The texts started that night. Derek was sitting on his couch after putting Lily to bed, half watching a documentary he had seen before, when his phone buzzed. Savannah wrote, Thank you again for today. I cannot stop thinking about how kind you both were to a complete stranger. Derek smiled and typed back. Derek wrote, You are not a stranger anymore. You are our friend. And friends do not thank friends for birthday cake. It is in the Friendship Handbook, page 47. Savannah wrote, I will have to read that handbook more carefully. Derek wrote, It is a thrilling read, right up there with assembly instructions and tax forms. Savannah wrote, Ha! Now I definitely have to find a copy. They texted back and forth for another hour. Nothing profound. Just the comfortable getting-to-know-you conversation of two people who had somehow skipped past the awkward stages and landed directly in friendship. Derek learned that Savannah's favorite color was green, that she hated mushrooms but loved truffle oil, which she admitted made no sense, that she had once wanted to be a marine biologist but discovered she got seasick on boats, that she still sometimes talked to Kennedy before she fell asleep telling her about her day. Savannah learned that Derek's guilty pleasure was reality cooking shows, that he had never traveled outside the United States but dreamed of seeing Italy someday, that he secretly kept every drawing Lily made for him in a box under his bed, that he still had dreams about his ex-wife sometimes, but they were always friendly, like she was just visiting his subconscious for coffee. When Derek finally looked at the clock, it was past midnight. Derek wrote, I should probably sleep. Work tomorrow. Savannah wrote, Me too. Thank you again, Derek, for everything. Derek wrote, See you Saturday. Savannah wrote, I will be there. That night, Savannah fell asleep without crying for the first time in months. The following Saturday, she arrived at the corner bean wearing a nervous smile. But the moment Lily saw her through the window, she squealed with delight and ran to the door to meet her. Miss Savannah. Miss Savannah, I made you something. She thrust a piece of paper into Savannah's hands. It was a drawing done in crayon of 3 stick figures sitting at a table. One had yellow hair. One had brown hair. One was small with pigtails. Above them in careful, wobbly letters, Lily had written "Our Table." Savannah's eyes filled with tears. The good kind. And just like that, it felt like she had always been part of their Saturday tradition. The weeks turned into months, and Savannah became woven into the fabric of Derek and Lily's life so naturally that later neither of them could quite remember what Saturdays had been like before her. 1 month in, they started expanding beyond the corner bean. Trips to Powell's City of Books, where they would get lost in different sections and text each other ridiculous book titles they found. Found one, Derek would type. How to Goodbye. Depression if you constrict anus 100 times every day. That cannot be real. Savannah would text back. I am literally holding it right now. Section F, 3rd shelf from the bottom. She would find him minutes later, and they would stand in the aisle laughing until other customers gave them dirty looks. Lily would run from section to section, pulling books off shelves with wild abandon building towers of picture books and begging Derek to read just the first page, please, Daddy. It has a talking dog. Movie nights at Derek's apartment became routine too. After Lily went to bed, Derek and Savannah would argue good-naturedly about plot holes and character motivations. There is no way he survived that fall, Savannah would insist. It is a comic book movie. People survive things. It was a 40-story building with convenient awnings. They would debate until one of them started laughing, and then the other would join in, and the movie would play forgotten in the background while they talked about everything and nothing. 2 months in, Savannah started attending Lily's school events. She stood next to Derek at the first-grade art show, taking photos like a proud aunt, exclaiming over Lily's finger-painted masterpiece of what was allegedly a rainbow, but looked more like a cheerful explosion. It is beautiful, Savannah said seriously, crouching down to Lily's level. Tell me about it. Lily launched into a detailed explanation of her artistic vision, and Derek watched Savannah listen with genuine attention, asking follow-up questions, treating his 6-year-old's creative process with the same respect she would give a professional artist. His heart did something complicated in his chest. 3 months in, Savannah started teaching Lily to draw. They would sit at Derek's kitchen table with colored pencils spread everywhere, Savannah guiding Lily's small hand to make cartoon characters and animals. The secret to drawing eyes, Savannah explained patiently, is that they are not really circles. They are more like almonds. See, Lily would try her tongue poking out of the corner of her mouth in concentration. Like that perfect you are a natural. Derek would watch from the kitchen pretending to do dishes, but really just soaking in the scene. The 2 blonde heads bent together over the paper, the soft murmur of Savannah's instructions, Lily's giggles when she made a mistake. Savannah's encouragement that made even the mistakes feel like successes. Late at night, after Lily was asleep and Savannah had gone home, Derek would lie in bed staring at the ceiling. He noticed things now. The way Savannah's nose crinkled when she laughed. The way her eyes lit up when she talked about design, about color theory, about the projects she was working on. The way her hand felt when it accidentally brushed his, reaching for the same coffee cup. One afternoon in early June, they were sitting in a different coffee shop, not the corner bean, somewhere new, when Derek had his moment of clarity. Savannah was laughing at something ridiculous that had happened at her graphic design client meeting. Her head thrown back the afternoon light, catching her blonde hair just right, her whole face transformed by joy. And Derek's heart did more than flip. It stopped. He was falling in love with her. Maybe had been for a while. Maybe since that first Saturday when she had asked to share their table and he had seen past the red dress and the crutches to the broken, beautiful person underneath. But he did not say anything. Savannah had been through so much trauma. She was 10 years younger than him. He had a daughter to think about. What if he misread the signals and scared her away? What if pursuing something romantic ruined the friendship they had built? What if he lost her entirely? So Derek kept quiet, treasured what they had, and silently wished for more. 3 months after their first meeting, Savannah made an announcement that changed everything. "I am moving to Portland." They were sitting on Derek's couch after Lily had gone to bed, half watching a documentary neither of them was really paying attention to. The TV flickered with images of ocean life, but Derek barely registered them. He was too focused on the woman beside him, on the nervous energy radiating from her. "Really?" His heart was racing, but he tried to keep his voice casual. "My aunt is supportive," Savannah explained. "She knows I need to rebuild my life, and living away from the one place that actually feels like home does not make sense." She turned to look at him, and something in her expression made Derek's breath catch. "I have been looking at apartments in the neighborhood. There is a studio available 3 blocks from here. 3 blocks from the corner bean. 3 blocks. Walking distance. No more hour-long drives from Vancouver. No more planning visits around traffic and weather. She would just be here. Part of their everyday life." "That is amazing," Derek said, and this time he could not quite keep the emotion out of his voice. "I can help you move. You do not have to. I want to." The words came out more intensely than he intended, and something shifted in the air between them. Savannah held his gaze for a moment longer than necessary. "Okay," she said softly. "I would like that." Moving day came on a Saturday morning in late June. Derek recruited a few of his teacher friends, Mark from the English department, who had a truck, Jennifer from math, who was surprisingly strong for someone so small, David from PE, who could carry a couch by himself. They carried boxes up 3 flights of stairs. Savannah's studio apartment was small, but full of natural light, with big windows that overlooked a quiet street lined with trees. Derek assembled furniture, while Jennifer hung pictures. Mark got lost trying to figure out where the bathroom was in a 400-square-foot apartment. Savannah ordered pizza for everyone, and by the end of the day, her space felt like home. Photos of her family lined the bookshelf. Her design equipment was set up in the corner. The red dress she had worn that first day hung in the closet like a talisman. After the others left, Derek stayed behind to help with the last few boxes. "I cannot believe I actually did this," Savannah said, looking around at her new home. 6 months ago, I could not imagine leaving my aunt's house. I could not imagine having a life again. She looked at Derek, and her eyes were bright with unshed tears. "You and Lily, you gave me something to live for, something to move toward instead of just existing." Derek wanted to say so much in that moment, wanted to tell her that she had given him something too, that watching her fight her way back to life had reminded him that his own life was not over, that loving her because he did love her, he knew that now, with absolute certainty, had made him believe in second chances again. But the words stuck in his throat. Too much, too soon, too risky. "We are glad you are here," he said instead. "Lily has not stopped talking about having you close by. She is already planning the housewarming party." Savannah laughed, and the moment passed. But something had shifted. They both felt it. The space between them was charged now electric with possibility. 4 months after their first meeting, Derek suggested a beach day. "There is this place about an hour from here," he said. "Cannon Beach. Lily has been asking to go all summer. It is supposed to be beautiful." Savannah's expression flickered. Something passed across her face, fear maybe, or hesitation. "I do not know," she said slowly. "The sand is hard to navigate. And the water—" She trailed off, not meeting his eyes. Derek waited. He had learned by now that Savannah would share when she was ready, that pushing only made her retreat. "I have not been to a beach since before the accident," she finally admitted. Her voice was quiet. I have not shown anyone." "My leg. The prosthetic. It is different in pants or jeans or long skirts. But at the beach, you do not have to show anyone anything," Derek said gently. "But I want you to know something." He moved closer, taking her hands in his. "You could never slow us down, Savannah. You are the one who keeps us moving forward." She looked up at him, her eyes searching his face for any sign of pity or obligation. She found none. They went to Cannon Beach the following Saturday. Lily ran ahead toward the water, shrieking with delight at the waves. Derek carried their cooler and blankets. Savannah moved carefully across the sand, her crutches sinking slightly with each step. It was harder than walking on solid ground, but she managed. They found a spot near some rocks sheltered from the wind. Derek spread out the blanket while Lily immediately started building a sand castle. "I am going to make the biggest castle ever," she announced, "with a moat and towers and a dragon cave." "That sounds very ambitious," Savannah said, settling onto the blanket. "I am a very ambitious person," Lily replied seriously. "For a while they just existed in the warmth of the summer sun." Derek read a book. Savannah sketched in the notebook she always carried. Lily constructed her sand empire with intense focus. Then Savannah took a deep breath. "Can you help me?" she asked Derek quietly. "I want to take off. I want to sit on the blanket properly, without the prosthetic." It was a bigger request than it sounded. Derek understood that. She was asking to be vulnerable, asking to be seen. Of course. He helped her remove the prosthetic carefully, setting it beside her on the blanket. For the first time, Derek saw what remained of her left leg, the smooth skin where it ended below the knee, the small scars from the surgery. He did not flinch, did not look away, did not react with the pity or discomfort she had been bracing for. He just looked at her, all of her, and smiled. Lily noticed the movement and looked over from her sandcastle. Her eyes went to the prosthetic, then to Savannah's leg, then back to the prosthetic. Pure curiosity, without a trace of fear or judgment. "Does it hurt?" she asked, abandoning her castle to come closer. "Sometimes," Savannah admitted. "Not right now, but sometimes at night." "Can I touch it?" Savannah's breath caught. "If you want to." Lily ran her small fingers over the prosthetic, then over the socket, examining everything with the scientific curiosity of a child who has not yet learned to be uncomfortable with difference. "It is like a robot leg," she said finally, her voice filled with wonder. "That is so cool. You are like a superhero." "Miss Savannah!" Savannah burst into tears. Not from pain, not from sadness, from being seen so completely, so innocently, without a trace of pity. Derek moved closer, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. "You are beautiful," he murmured into her hair. "Every single part of you." They stayed on that beach until sunset, watching the sky turn orange and pink and purple. Lily fell asleep against Savannah's shoulder, exhausted from sandcastle construction. Derek sat close enough that his arm pressed against hers, and for the first time since the accident, Savannah felt whole. 4 months after that first Saturday at the Corner Bean, everything Derek had built came crashing down with a single phone call. It was a Tuesday evening in early August. Derek was at his kitchen table grading student artwork from the summer program he taught. Lily sat nearby, coloring with fierce concentration, her tongue poking out like it always did when she was focused. His phone rang. The name on the screen made his stomach clench. "Chelsea Mitchell," he answered quickly, stepping into the living room for privacy. "Hey, Chelsea, is everything okay?" "Yes, actually." His ex-wife's voice was bright, energized in a way he had not heard in years. "I am calling with good news. I got a job offer at the Portland Art Museum, a curatorial position with a path to senior curator within 2 years. It is exactly what I have been working toward, Derek. And it means I would be moving back to Portland." Derek's hand tightened on the phone. "You are moving back here, I am planning to." "Yes?" Chelsea took a breath. "I have been thinking about it for a while now. Even before this job came up, I have regretted not being more present in Lily's life. Seeing her twice a month is not enough. I want to be a real mum to her, not just a visitor. This job is the perfect opportunity." "That is—" Derek struggled to process. "That is great, Chelsea. Lily would love to see you more often. There is something else I wanted to talk to you about." Her voice softened, and something in Derek's chest went cold. "I have been doing a lot of therapy lately, a lot of self-reflection." She paused. "I have been thinking about us, about our marriage, about what went wrong." "Chelsea." "Hear me out," she said quickly. "We were so young when we got married. We let stress and our differences pull us apart. But maybe we gave up too quickly. Maybe with some time and growth and maturity, we could try again. Not immediately, but eventually." Derek felt like he could not breathe. "Think about it," Chelsea continued. "A real family for Lily. Both her parents together giving her the stability and love she deserves. She is 7 now. She understands things. She would be so happy, Derek." The words hit him like physical blows. I do not know what to say. You do not have to say anything right now. I know it is a lot. Just think about it, okay? For Lily's sake, if nothing else." After they hung up, Derek sat frozen on the couch, his mind spinning in circles. Chelsea wanted to try again. Chelsea wanted to be a family. 3 years ago, he would have given anything to hear those words. 3 years ago, he had spent months hoping she would change her mind, come back, make them whole again. But 3 years ago, he had not known Savannah. Daddy Lily's voice pulled him back. She was standing at the doorway, her coloring forgotten. "Was that Mommy?" "Yes, sweetheart. Is she coming to visit soon?" Derek took a breath, trying to steady himself. "Actually, Mommy might be moving back to Portland for a new job." Lily's face exploded with joy. "Really? Mommy is coming back here?" She bounced on her feet, her whole body vibrating with excitement. "That is the best news ever!" She ran to Derek, throwing her arms around him. "Oh, Daddy, this is so great. I can see her all the time now. And maybe if she is here, you and Mommy could be together again. Like a real family, like Harper's parents. We could all live in the same house and have dinner together every night and—" Derek's heart sank through the floor. "Sweetie, it is not that simple." But it could be. Lily insisted, her eyes shining with childhood optimism. "If Mommy is here and you are here, you could fall back in love. That happens in movies all the time. And then we would be a real family, and I would not have to go back and forth, and I could have both my parents together forever." Derek looked at his daughter's hopeful face and felt something crack inside him. How could he explain? How could he tell a 7-year-old that love was not like the movies? That people did not just fall back in love because it was convenient, that he had already given his heart to someone else? "We will talk about it more later." "Okay," he said weakly. "It is almost bedtime." But Lily was too excited to sleep. She chatted about her parents getting back together, all through teeth brushing, all through pajamas, all through her bedtime story. "I am going to pray for it every night," she announced as Derek tucked her in. "Every single night until it happens." Derek kissed her forehead, turned off the light, and closed her door. Then he stood in the hallway and let himself fall apart. That Saturday at the Corner Bean, Savannah knew something was wrong the moment she saw Derek's face. He was distracted, quiet, barely touching his coffee. His eyes kept drifting to the window like he was looking for an escape route. "Hey," she said gently, after Lily had skipped off to look at the pastry display. "What is going on? You seem 1,000,000 miles away." Derek sighed, rubbing his face with both hands. "Chelsea called. She got a job offer in Portland. She is moving back." "Oh." Savannah felt something shift in her chest. That is good, right? Lily will get to see her more often?" Yeah, it will be good for Lily." He did not meet her eyes. "Is there something else?" Savannah asked carefully. Derek hesitated. How could he tell her? How could he explain that his ex-wife wanted to try again, that his daughter was dreaming of her parents reuniting, that he felt like he was standing at a crossroads with no good options? "Just a lot of changes coming," he said finally. "A lot to figure out." Savannah nodded slowly, but something in her expression had shifted. She did not push for more. What Derek did not know was that later that afternoon, when he stepped away to take a phone call from his sister Lily, told Savannah everything. Guess what? Miss Savannah Lily's voice was practically vibrating with excitement. She had climbed onto the chair next to Savannah, her eyes bright with secrets she could not contain. "What is that, sweetheart?" "My mummy is moving back to Portland." Lily bounced in her seat, and I told Daddy that maybe they could fall back in love and we could all be a real family together. Is not that the best idea ever? Savannah felt something crack inside her chest. That would be really wonderful for you, Lily," she managed to say. Her smile felt frozen on her face, painted on. "I really hope it happens." Lily continued, completely oblivious to Savannah's pain. "I pray about it every night, every single night before I go to sleep. I want my mummy and daddy together again more than anything. I understand, sweetheart." Savannah's voice came out barely above a whisper. "Daddy has been kind of sad lately," Lily confided. "I think it is because he misses Mommy. But now that she is coming back, he will not have to be sad anymore. And you can still come visit us. You can be like an aunt or something." "An aunt?" "Not family, not part of them, just a visitor. Someone on the outside looking in." "That sounds nice," Savannah heard herself say. "I would like that." But inside she was shattering. Of course, Derek would want his family back together. Of course he would choose to give Lily what she so desperately wanted, both her parents under one roof, a complete family unit. What could Savannah possibly offer that would compare to that? She was just some broken girl who had stumbled into their lives at a café. A woman with one leg and no family who had asked to share their table because she had nowhere else to go. She had no right to stand in the way of Lily getting her intact family. And Derek, he had never indicated he saw her as anything more than a friend. She had been foolish to let herself fall in love with him, foolish to imagine he might feel the same way. When Derek returned from his phone call, Savannah plastered on a smile and pretended everything was fine. But that night, alone in her studio apartment, she lay awake staring at the ceiling while Portland rain drummed against her window. She looked at the photos of her family on the bookshelf. Mom, Dad, Kennedy, all gone, all unreachable. "What do I do?" she whispered to the empty room. No answer came. Over the next 2 weeks, Savannah slowly began disappearing from their lives. It started small, cancelling movie night because she was swamped with a freelance deadline, missing Saturday coffee because she was not feeling great. Rain check. Derek tried not to worry at first. People got busy. People got sick. It did not mean anything. But then the second Saturday came. "I have to drive to Vancouver to help my aunt with something," Savannah texted. "Sorry to miss coffee." Derek stared at his phone, a cold feeling settling in his stomach. "Everything okay?" he typed back. Yeah, just family stuff. Talk soon. But soon kept getting pushed further away. Derek would suggest dinner and Savannah would be busy. He would ask about meeting up and she would have a conflict. Every invitation met with a polite refusal. He tried calling, but she let it go to voicemail. "Hey, it is me," he said to the recording. "I just wanted to check in. Make sure you are okay. Lily has been asking about you. I have been. I miss you, Savannah. Please call me back." Her response came hours later via text. "I just think I have been imposing too much on your time with Lily. You two need your space, especially with everything changing." Derek read the message 3 times, completely baffled. Imposing. She was part of their family now. How could she think she was imposing? He typed back. "You are not imposing. You are never imposing. We love having you around. Please talk to me." No response. The second Saturday without Savannah felt wrong in ways Derek could not articulate. He and Lily sat at their usual table, at the corner bean, but the empty chair across from them seemed to pulse with absence. Lily kept looking toward the door, hope flickering in her eyes every time it opened. "Where is Miss Savannah?" she asked for the 3rd time. "Why does she not come anymore? She is just busy, sweetie." But she was never too busy before. Lily's voice was small and wounded. "Did we do something to make her mad?" "No, honey. Of course not." But Derek was not sure anymore. He thought back over the past weeks, trying to identify the moment things had shifted. What had he said? What had he done? The answer hit him like a punch to the stomach. Chelsea's phone call. Savannah's withdrawal had started right after he had mentioned Chelsea moving back. Right after he had been distracted and distant, and unable to explain why. And Lily? Lily had been so excited about her parents potentially reuniting. She had probably told Savannah all about it in that unfiltered way children share everything without considering consequences. The 3rd Saturday without Savannah, Lily's face at the corner bean broke Derek's heart. "Our table feels sad without her," she said quietly, tracing patterns in the condensations on her hot chocolate. "I know, sweetheart. I feel it too. Can you make her come back? Daddy, can you tell her we miss her? I am trying, baby. I am really trying." That night, after Derek put Lily to bed, he sat alone on his couch and let himself feel the full weight of what was happening. He was losing her. Losing Savannah, and he did not even understand why. The realization hit Derek like a freight train at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday night. He was lying in bed, unable to sleep, going over everything in his mind for the 100th time. The timeline of events, the subtle shifts in Savannah's behavior, the way she had pulled away so suddenly, so completely. Savannah's withdrawal had started immediately after Chelsea's phone call. After Lily had found out her mother was moving back. After Lily had started talking about her parents getting back together. Derek sat up in bed, his heart pounding. Lily must have told Savannah. Of course she had. Lily was 7 years old. She had no filter, no sense of what should and should not be shared. She would have told Savannah everything with all the innocent enthusiasm of a child who did not understand the implications. And Savannah, sweet, selfless, traumatized, Savannah would have heard that this little girl she loved was praying every night for her parents to reunite. Savannah, who had lost her entire family in one terrible night. Savannah, who understood better than anyone what it meant to want your family back. She would have stepped aside. She would have sacrificed her own happiness because she thought it was the right thing to do for Lily. Because she thought she was standing in the way of a child getting what Savannah herself could never have again, an intact family. She was removing herself from the equation, giving Derek space to reconcile with his ex-wife, letting Lily have the fairy tale ending even if it destroyed Savannah in the process. "Oh God." Derek whispered into the darkness. He grabbed his phone and checked the time. Almost midnight. Too late to call. But this could not wait until morning. It could not wait another second. He called his neighbor Mrs. Patterson, the elderly woman who had watched Lily countless times over the past 3 years. She answered on the 4th ring, sleepy but immediately concerned. Derek, is everything all right? I am so sorry to call this late. I need a huge favor. Can you come sit with Lily for an hour? It is an emergency. Of course, dear. Give me 5 minutes. True to her word, Mrs. Patterson appeared at his door in her housecoat 4 minutes later. Derek thanked her profusely, grabbed his keys, and ran for his car. 20 minutes later, he was knocking on Savannah's apartment door. The knock was loud in the quiet hallway. Insistent. For a moment, there was no response. Derek heard movement inside the creak of floorboards, the soft thump of crutches on carpet. Then the door opened. Savannah stood there in pajamas, her blonde hair loose around her shoulders, her face puffy from what looked like crying. Surprise flickered across her features, followed quickly by something that looked like panic. Derek. Her voice was rough. What are you doing here? Is Lily okay? Lily is fine. She is with Mrs. Patterson. He held her gaze, his heart pounding so hard he could hear it. We need to talk. Please. Savannah hesitated. Derek could see the war playing out behind her eyes, the instinct to protect herself, to maintain the distance she had carefully constructed, battling against the part of her that wanted to let him in. Finally, she stepped aside. Her studio apartment was small but warm, lit only by a single lamp. Photos of her family covered every surface her parents on their wedding day. Kennedy blowing out birthday candles, all 4 of them at the corner bean in happier times. They sat on her second-hand couch, the same one where they had watched movies and argued about plot holes and laughed until their sides hurt. But now the space between them felt like a canyon. You are pulling away because of Chelsea, are you not? Derek's voice was quiet but certain, not accusatory, just stating a fact. Savannah's eyes immediately filled with tears. Lily told you, he continued. Did she not? About wanting Chelsea and me to get back together. Savannah looked down at her hands, twisting them in her lap. She was so excited she whispered. She said she prays for it every night. Every single night, Derek. She wants her parents back together more than anything in the world. Her voice broke. She deserves that, Derek. She deserves a complete family. Both her parents loving each other, living together. After everything she has been through with the divorce, she deserves that fairy tale ending. And what about what you deserve? The question hung in the air between them. That does not matter, Savannah said quietly. I do not have any right to. Stop. Derek's voice was firm. He reached out and took her hands in his, holding them tightly. Stop right there. Look at me, Savannah. Please. She raised her eyes to his. Tears spilled down her cheeks. Chelsea and I are not getting back together, Derek said slowly, making sure every word landed. We are not in love. We have not been in love for years. Moving to the same city does not change that fundamental truth. But she wants to try again. She mentioned it as a possibility. Derek corrected. And I have not seriously considered it for even a single second. Not one. He took a breath, struggling to find the right words. Chelsea and I do not belong together, Savannah. We never really did. We were 22 when we got married. We were in love with the idea of love, with the dream of what we thought marriage should look like. But we were not compatible as life partners. We wanted different things. We still do. But Lily is 7 years old. Derek's voice was gentle but firm. She has fantasies about fairy tale endings where everyone lives happily ever after in the same house. But that is not reality, Savannah. and more importantly, that is not what is best for her. He squeezed her hands. Chelsea and I can both be excellent parents to Lily without being married to each other. Lily will understand that as she gets older. She will understand that sometimes the best thing for everyone is to be honest about what works and what does not. Savannah shook her head, tears falling faster now. You do not understand, she whispered. I know what it is like to want your family back, to pray for it every night, to believe that if you just hope hard enough. Her voice shattered. I would give anything to have my parents back, to have Kennedy back, to sit at a table with them one more time and hear my dad's terrible jokes and watch my mom steal bites of everyone's food and listen to Kennedy talk about whatever animal she had rescued that week. She was sobbing now, the words pouring out between gasps. I cannot take that from Lily. I cannot be the reason she does not get her family back. I am not worth. You are worth it. Derek's voice cracked with emotion. He pulled her into his arms, and she collapsed against his chest, months of suppressed feelings, finally breaking free. You are worth everything, Savannah. Everything. He held her tightly, one hand cradling the back of her head, the other wrapped around her waist. I am not finished, he murmured into her hair. There is something else I need to tell you. Something I should have told you weeks ago. He pulled back just enough to look into her eyes. These past 4 months have been the happiest months of my life since my divorce. Not because of convenience or circumstance, because of you. Savannah's breath caught. Because you make me laugh in ways I forgot I could. Because you see the world through this lens that fascinates me. Because you are kind and resilient and real and beautiful. His voice dropped to barely above a whisper. Because when I am with you, everything feels right in a way it never, ever felt with Chelsea. Tears were streaming down Savannah's face, but she did not look away. You are not standing in the way of anything, Savannah. You are not an obstacle to my family. Derek cupped her face in his hands. You are my family. You have been since that day you asked to share our table. Derek. Lily loves you. She asks about you every day. She drew you into her picture of our family, Savannah. Not as a visitor, as one of us. He took a shaky breath. And I love you. The words hung in the air, electric and terrifying and true. I am in love with you. I have been for weeks, maybe months, and I hope you might feel the same way. For a long moment, Savannah just stared at him. Then she let out a sound that was half laugh, half sob. I do, she whispered. I have been falling in love with you since you sang Happy Birthday to a complete stranger and made her feel seen for the first time in 2 years. She pressed her forehead against his. But I was so scared. I thought I was being selfish. I could not let myself hope that you... Derek kissed her. It was soft and gentle and full of months of unspoken longing, full of all the words he had been too afraid to say, and all the feelings she had been too afraid to feel. When they pulled apart, both of them were crying. You are allowed to hope. Derek murmured, his hands still cupping her face. You are allowed to want things. You are allowed to be loved, Savannah. You are allowed to be happy. I love you, she said, and the words came out like they had been waiting years to be spoken. I love you so much, and I love Lily. Her voice wavered. But I am scared. Of what? Of messing this up, of you realizing I am not enough, of Lily resenting me for not being her mother, of losing everything again, of... Derek kissed her again, cutting off the spiral of fears. You are enough, he said firmly when they parted. You are more than enough, and we will figure everything out together. Chelsea moving back the new custody arrangement, all of it. But please, his voice cracked, please do not pull away from us again. Do not leave us. We need you. Savannah clutched his shirt like a lifeline. I will not leave, she promised. I am so sorry. I tried to. I am so sorry. You do not have to apologize. He kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her eyelids. You were trying to do what you thought was right. That is who you are. That is one of the reasons I love you. They held each other for a long time, the Portland rain continuing its steady rhythm against the window, washing away fear and doubt, leaving only truth. The next morning, Derek sat Lily down at their kitchen table for the most important conversation of their lives. It was early. Sunlight streamed through the windows, catching the dust motes floating in the air. Lily was still in her pajamas, eating toast with jelly that was somehow getting on everything except the bread. Sweetie, I need to talk to you about Mummy moving back to Portland. Lily looked up, her eyes bright with hope. Is she here already? When do I get to see her? Derek took a breath. This was going to be harder than he thought. Not yet. She is still getting everything organized. But I need to tell you something important, okay? I need you to really listen. Lily nodded, suddenly serious. She could tell from his tone that this was grown-up talk. Mommy and Daddy both love you more than anything in the world. You know that, right? I know Daddy. And Mommy wants to move here so she can see you much more often. That is wonderful. You are going to get to spend lots of time with her. But, Lily prompted, hearing the word hanging unspoken. Derek reached across the table and took her small hands in his. But Mommy and Daddy are not getting back together. Lily's face crumpled. The hope that had been shining in her eyes dimmed like a candle in the wind. But why, she whispered. If she is here, if you are both here, you could try. You could... Sweetheart. Derek's voice was gentle but firm. Sometimes people who care about each other realize they are better as friends than as married people. Mommy and I tried really hard when we were married. We tried everything, but we just were not happy together the way married people should be. We made each other sad more than we made each other happy. But I want us all to be together, Lily said, her voice quavering. Tears welled in her eyes. I want to be a real family. I know, baby. I know. Derek pulled her into his lap, holding her close. And I understand why you want that. It makes sense to want your parents together. But you know what? We are a real family, just in a different way. You have Mommy who loves you, and you have Daddy who loves you. We are both here for you. That is what matters, not whether we live in the same house or are married to each other. Lily sniffled against his chest. Is it because of Miss Savannah? Derek's heart clenched. He had known this question was coming. No, he said firmly, tilting Lily's chin up so she could see the truth in his eyes. Mommy and I made our choice to divorce a long time ago, before I ever met Miss Savannah. This has nothing to do with her. He paused, choosing his next words carefully. But I do need to tell you something about Miss Savannah. Lily waited, her small face streaked with tears. I love her, sweetheart. Not just as a friend, but the way grown-ups love each other when they want to be together. To his surprise, Lily's expression softened. Like boyfriend and girlfriend. Yes, exactly like that. Lily was quiet for a long moment, her 7-year-old mind working through complex emotions. I like Miss Savannah, she said finally. She is really nice. And you smile a lot when she is around. You laugh more. Derek felt tears prick his own eyes. I do smile more when she is around. Can she still come to Saturday coffee with us? Always, sweetheart, always. Lily nodded slowly, then climbed further into Derek's lap and hugged him tightly. I still wish you and Mummy could be together, she said honestly, her small voice muffled against his chest. But I guess if you are happy with Miss Savannah, that is okay too. Derek held his daughter and let the tears fall. 6 weeks later, Chelsea moved back to Portland. They worked out a new custody arrangement over coffee at a neutral café, not the Corner Bean. That place belonged to Derek and Lily and Savannah. Chelsea would have Lily every other weekend and one weeknight for dinner. It took some adjustment, but it worked. The first time Chelsea came to pick up Lily from Derek's apartment, she met Savannah. After Lily ran excitedly to pack her overnight bag, the two women stood somewhat awkwardly in the doorway. Chelsea was exactly as Savannah had pictured, tall, artistic, with paint-stained fingers and expressive eyes. So Chelsea said, and her expression was hard to read. "You are Savannah." "I am." Savannah's heart was racing, but she kept her voice steady. "I want you to know I am not trying to replace you. You are Lily's mother. I would never—" "I know," Chelsea interrupted, and to Savannah's surprise, she smiled. It was genuine, reaching her eyes. "Lily talks about you constantly. Miss Savannah taught me this. Miss Savannah said that. I can tell she loves you." Chelsea glanced back toward the apartment where Derek was helping Lily pack. "I thought I wanted to try again with him," she admitted quietly. "But the truth is I was lonely, and I confused wanting to be a better mum with wanting to be his wife again. Those are two different things." She looked back at Savannah. "I am actually glad he found you. You make him happy in ways I never could." Tears sprang to Savannah's eyes. "Take care of them," Chelsea said softly. "Not just Derek. Lily too. They are both pretty special." "I will," Savannah promised. "I absolutely will." Over time, Chelsea and Savannah developed a respectful co-parenting relationship built on their shared love for Lily. There were awkward moments and adjustments, school events, holidays, birthday parties, but they navigated them with grace, always putting Lily first. 8 months after that first meeting at the Corner Bean, Derek made his move. It was a Saturday morning, their usual time. Sunlight streamed through the cafe's windows, painting everything gold. The familiar smell of coffee and pastries filled the air. The same patrons occupied the same tables they always did. But today was different. Lily was wearing her best dress, the green one, with the little white flowers that Savannah had helped her pick out. She was practically vibrating with barely contained excitement, her small body unable to hold still. She had known about the plan for weeks. Derek had asked her permission before buying the ring, explaining what it meant, making sure she understood and approved. "You want to marry, Miss Savannah?" Lily had asked, her eyes wide. "I do. But only if you are okay with it, because if I marry her, she becomes part of our family officially. She would be your stepmom." Lily had considered this with the gravity of a Supreme Court justice weighing a constitutional question. Would she still come to Saturday coffee every week? Would she still teach me to draw whenever you want? Would she still make the funny faces that make me laugh? "I certainly hope so." Lily had nodded decisively. "Okay, Daddy, you can marry her." Now the moment had finally arrived. Savannah walked into the Corner Bean wearing the red dress, the same one she had worn that first day. Derek had asked her to told her he wanted to recreate their first meeting for their anniversary. She had not suspected a thing. She made her way to their usual table, smiling when she saw them waiting. "You both look very fancy this morning," she said, kissing Lily on the head and sliding into her chair. Then she noticed the cafe had gone quiet. Then she noticed Lily was holding something. Then Derek got down on one knee. Savannah's hand flew to her mouth. "What are you?" "Savannah Cole," he said, his voice steady, despite his pounding heart. "That day you asked to share our table, you changed our lives completely." Lily bounced beside him, clutching the velvet ring box with white-knuckled intensity. "You brought light and love and laughter back into our world," Derek continued. "You showed me what real partnership looks like. You have been patient with Lily's adjustment. You have been gracious with Chelsea. You have been everything I did not know I needed." His voice wavered with emotion. 8 months ago, I was a single dad going through the motions, surviving, not living. Then this beautiful, brave woman in a red dress asked if she could share our table, and everything changed. Tears were streaming down Savannah's face. You taught me that the best families are not born, they are built. One Saturday at a time, one kindness at a time, one moment of choosing each other at a time. He reached for the ring box in Lily's hands. Will you marry us, Savannah? Will you officially become part of our family? For a moment, the entire cafe held its breath. Savannah looked at Derek, kneeling before her with tears in his eyes. She looked at Lily, practically exploding with anticipation. She thought about everything that had led to this moment. The explosion, the loss, the grief, the morning she had walked into this cafe with nothing but a red dress and a desperate hope. She thought about Kennedy, who would have loved Derek, about her parents, who would have been so happy to see their daughter smile again. Yes, she whispered. Then louder, yes. Absolutely yes. The cafe erupted in applause. Lily flung open the ring box, revealing a simple, elegant ring with a small diamond that caught the morning light. Derek slid it onto Savannah's finger with trembling hands. Then they were kissing, and Lily was throwing her arms around both of them, and someone was popping champagne, and the same patrons who had sung Happy Birthday 8 months ago were now cheering for this new beginning. The owner of the Corner Bean appeared with a bottle of champagne for the adults and hot chocolate with extra whipped cream for Lily. To the family that started at table 7, someone shouted, and everyone raised their cups. Later, after the excitement had died down and they sat together at their table, Savannah looked at the ring on her finger like she could not quite believe it was real. Are you happy, Miss Savannah? Lily asked. So happy, sweetheart. Happier than I ever thought I could be again. Good. Lily nodded with satisfaction. Because I am happy too, and Daddy is happy. And now we are all going to be happy together forever. She paused thoughtfully. Can I be a flower girl at the wedding? They married on a warm Saturday morning in September, 6 months after the proposal. The ceremony took place at the Corner Bean, where else the cafe owner had agreed to close the space for the morning, transforming it with simple white flowers and strings of soft lights. Lily was the flower girl, wearing the green dress she had picked out herself, scattering petals with the solemnity of someone performing a sacred duty. She announced to anyone who would listen that she had known they were in love forever and ever, and took full credit for bringing them together. Chelsea came accompanied by her new girlfriend, an art restorer she had met at the museum. They sat in the front row, and Chelsea's eyes were bright with genuine happiness as she watched her ex-husband marry the woman who had completed his family. The guest list was small. Derek's teacher friends, Savannah's Aunt Helen, who had travelled from Vancouver with tears already in her eyes. A few regulars from the cafe who had witnessed their story unfold over countless Saturday mornings. When the music started a simple piano piece, everyone rose. Savannah appeared in the doorway, radiant in a simple white dress. No veil, no elaborate train. Just her walking toward her future on the crutches she no longer felt ashamed of. Derek forgot how to breathe. When she reached him, when she took his hands, when the officiant began speaking, he heard almost none of it. He was too lost in her eyes, in the miracle of this moment, in the knowledge that sometimes broken things could be made whole again. Then it was time for vows. Derek spoke first, his voice thick with emotion. Savannah, when you asked if you could share our table, you gave me more than company for coffee. You gave me hope. You taught me that families are not just born. They are built one kind moment at a time. He squeezed her hands. You showed Lily what resilience looks like. You showed me what love should feel like. You made us both believe that second chances are real. Tears streamed down his face, but he did not care. "I promise to always make room at our table for you, to celebrate every birthday like it is the most important day of the year, to remind you every single day that you are exactly where you belong." Savannah's hands trembled in his as she spoke her vows. "Derek, I came to this cafe on the worst birthday of my life looking for ghosts. Instead, I found a future." Her voice broke, but she pushed through. "You and Lily did not just let me share your table. You made room in your hearts. You taught me that grief and joy can exist together. That broken does not mean worthless. That family is what you make it." She looked at Lily standing beside them, her small face shining with joy. "I promise to love you both with everything I have, to honor the family you have welcomed me into, and to never forget that the best things in life start with one simple question." She smiled through her tears. "Can I share this table?" When they kissed, the small gathering erupted in cheers. Lily jumped up and down, and somewhere in the crowd someone started singing fittingly, "Happy Wedding Day to you." Everyone laughed through their tears. They cut a small chocolate cake with vanilla buttercream frosting, the same kind from that first birthday. Savannah closed her eyes and made a wish, the same wish she had been making for months. Gratitude. As they danced their first dance in the narrow space between table, Savannah rested her head on Derek's shoulder and whispered, "Thank you for saying yes. Thank you for asking," he whispered back. And Lily, watching her dad and her new stepmom dance, leaned against Chelsea and said, "Mommy, did you know that sometimes fairy tales are real? They just do not look like the ones in books." Chelsea kissed the top of her daughter's head. "You are absolutely right, sweetheart. Sometimes they look exactly like this." 1 year after the wedding, they returned to the corner bean for their Saturday tradition. But now, instead of 3 chairs at their table, there were only 3 because Savannah sat in Derek's lap more often than not, and Lily had declared she was too old for booster seats now, Daddy. Some things had changed. Lily was 8 now, and she called Savannah Mom when she wanted to, her choice, after months of adjustment. Every time she said it, Savannah's heart still skipped. Chelsea had remarried too to the art restorer. They had moved into a beautiful house in northeast Portland, and Lily had 2 homes now, both filled with love. But the important things remained the same. The corner bean. Saturday mornings. Their corner table by the window. Savannah looked around the cafe at the same tables where her family had once sat, where she could almost see them if she closed her eyes. Dad with his terrible jokes. Mom stealing bites. Kennedy with her strawberry waffles and her huge heart. But instead of only grief, there was gratitude now. They had led her here to this table, to this family. She carried them with her always. "What are you thinking about?" Derek asked softly, watching her expression. "Everything," she said. "Everyone who brought me here." She placed her hand on her stomach, a gesture that had become habit over the past few weeks. Derek noticed. His eyes widened. "Savannah. Are you—" She nodded, tears springing to her eyes. "I found out yesterday. I wanted to tell you here, where it all started." Derek's face transformed with joy. He pulled her close, kissing her forehead, her cheeks, her lips. "A baby," he whispered. "We are having a baby." Lily looked up from her hot chocolate, confused. "What is happening? Why is everyone crying?" Derek and Savannah looked at each other, then at their daughter. "How would you feel?" Savannah asked carefully about being a big sister. Lily's scream of joy could probably be heard 3 blocks away. As chaos erupted at their table, Lily bouncing Derek, crying other patrons, looking over with confused smiles. Savannah thought about the red dress hanging in her closet, the one she had worn that first day when she had been brave enough to ask one simple question. She had never imagined it would lead her here, to a husband who loved her completely, to a daughter who had chosen her, to a new life growing inside her, to a family built from broken peace and Saturday mornings and endless cups of coffee. Sometimes she thought the bravest thing you can do is ask for what you need, and sometimes the kindest thing someone else can do is say yes. Their story started with a birthday song and a slice of cake, with a woman brave enough to ask for what she needed, with a single father kind enough to say yes, with a little girl whose pure heart saw past crutches and scars to the person underneath. It started with one simple truth. Sometimes all it takes is making room at your table for someone who needs a place to belong. Friends, if this story touched your heart the way it touched mine, if it reminded you that family is not about blood, it is about who shows up, please do not just watch and walk away. Hit that subscribe button and join our channel family for more heartwarming tales. Drop a heart in the comments if you believe broken people can build beautiful things together. And share this with someone who needs to remember that the person who saves us is often the one we least expect. Because sometimes, friends, the best moments in life start with one simple question. Can I share this table? Thank you for sharing this table with us.